You guys could watch my video. Just type in Nida on my channel, and I explain exactly what the Mishnah says. It says later on in the Gemara that the daughters of Israel took upon themselves a custom to count more, but that's not what the halacha is. Only because you create a minhag outside of the time of the Sanhedrin, i.e. the Sanhedrin didn't endorse that custom, that doesn't mean it becomes binding on everybody, but that is the way it is nowadays. That should be hope for people who don't want to spend so much time apart from their partner. The 7-day separation is what the Torah says. I mean, mind you, the Torah doesn't even mention a mikvah. The rabbis extracted from certain places that they should also immerse themselves, but the Torah just speaks of separation. So, I mean, I'm not just endorsing separation, I'm also endorsing the mikvah. But the Mishnah reiterates what the Torah says, and all these additional countings are just a custom that makes your life impossible, but it's not a law. But people think it's a law. When people get married, when women get married, they take kala classes, they're called. It's basically a woman that teaches them how to check themselves and how to count and all that stuff. Everyone does what someone else told them. They've never actually hopped into the law, into the actual source material and see what that says. I'm telling you now to help you, but it's not something that you want to publicize, that you're counting like the Mishnah says and not like the Gemara says.
So do you think the Muslims have it right, where they just abstain during their period and then have sex like once the period is done?
No,
do you think that's like the better way of doing it?
No, because the Torah tells you how long you're supposed to separate. If the woman is a zavar, if there's extra bleeding, that also includes an extra separation. I'm not trying to override what the Torah says or even what the Mishnah says. Just to separate, it's not enough. It's clearly not enough. But it's not good to do as much as what they teach you should do nowadays. One, they're keeping you from procreating. Extra time that you could spend with your wife is more chances of you being able to have a child if you're trying to have a child. So for them trying to make you more pious, they're getting you to trample on the mitzvah of purvu. That's just my opinion on it.
Do you know, off the top of your head, what would be the reason between, sort of on topic but a little bit off topic, when a woman has a male child, she's unclean for 14 days, but a woman is only 7 days? Is there a reason given for that? Well,
Kabbalists give tons of reasons for it, but the Torah doesn't.
All right, quick and easy.
But just a general reason. Apart from it being a male child or a female child, the idea that she has to bring a korban afterwards should be more perplexing. Right? I mean, why should she bring an offering? Rashi brings down there. I mean, not that this is authoritative in any way, but he says that maybe when she was having a child, she may have cursed God or may have said, I'm not going to have any more children, and that's some sort of kapara for it. It doesn't say, but a korban doesn't necessarily mean because someone becomes unfit or tameh doesn't mean that they did anything wrong. It's just the procedure. By that simple fact that having a child is not an avera. So only because you have to bring a korban afterwards, and not just a korban, they have to immerse themselves, shows that impurity is not necessarily a bad thing.
Fair enough. I really want to welcome Tim to the room and Vaughn and everyone else. Andrea, you have something to add? You want to continue on the conversation?
I have a question for the rabbi. So I actually asked this on my Facebook, but nobody answered me because everybody's away for Shabbos. So I have a question. So like I was bringing up this subject about like political donations, like candidates. So like I know it's not considered tzedakah to give a political donation to a candidate. But do you think it's considered like maybe a mitzvah, like repairing the world, because you're helping bring maybe a better candidate who can help like take care of the community better? So maybe you're doing a mitzvah because you're improving the community.
And that's actually a really good question. I like that question.
People translate mitzvah to mean good deed. It's not one of the 613 commandments, but it's clearly a nice thing to do. There's no commandment to pick up trash either. I guess it could all fall under kadoshim tiyu, like be holy as I'm holy, be set apart, like don't act like animals. There isn't a commandment for everything in terms of, I guess, if you feel that your candidate is gonna clean the streets, we have a mitzvah of burning the evil from amongst your midst. So if you're aiding in that, then it works. There's no mitzvah to give tzedakah to a Gentile. It does say, I think in Sefer Yirmiyahu, that when you're in Gullus, that you should pray for your government and the city you live in. And we also have a halacha of Dina de Machota Dina, that the laws of the land are the laws. We're also bound to keep laws, lest someone think we're only bound to keep Torah laws, that we're bound to keep civil law as well, as long as it doesn't violate the Torah. it's clearly the right thing to do. Only because something's not a mitzvah, that doesn't mean it's bad. A mitzvah just means that it's an actual commandment from the Torah. So many times when people say, oh, do this, it's a mitzvah, 9 out of 10 times it's not a mitzvah, right? It's just a nice thing to do. Sure, like the Torah has a term for that, just something stam that's nice to do, and then not actually one of the Targum mitzvot. But for sure, I think it's a great thing. I mean, I donate monthly. I have a recurring payment to my candidate.
When does that become? What's the threshold before, we just get our swords and shields like the Maccabees and just start going to town? Like what would be the indication of when the secular government becomes oppressive towards Jews? What would be your criteria, or Torah's criteria?
When it starts harming Jews, when it's trying to get you to violate a Torah precept, that's it. Shema means when your life's in danger, turmoil for the Jewish people. When it's time to become like a zealot and fight the government. Yeah,
sure. I mean, for those who are anarchists out there, maybe we can give them some fuel to the fire or something.
Partisans were mostly Jews. They weren't religious Jews. They were communist Jews. But when their lives and the lives of their family were endangered, they fought against the enemy. There are movies made about it. I mean, again, these guys were atheists. Torah relies so much on common sense. It's not mentioned much because almost everything is dictated for you by rabbis nowadays. They think they know what's best.
So, for example, what they did, like for example, the thing that comes to my mind is in Sweden they want to ban kosher slaughter and circumcision, for example. Mm-hmm. But they do it mostly because of Islam as well. But we kind of get thrown on the bus with them as well. I think even places like even Iceland, I think, banned kosher slaughter.
There's no mitzvah to fight against that. It would behoove you to leave those countries.
Yeah, it's kind of a lot. At that point, it's a lost cause. You're saying you have Israel.
There's a medrash
place to be. Yeah,
that Israel took an oath when they went into Galut, and one of those oaths is that they shouldn't war with the nations of the world. That they should just sort of tolerate their exile till God accepts their repentance and brings them back. Now, if their lives in danger, that's when you fight back. I mean, clearly, in a civil manner, you should protest, but not start killing people. Just move to a different country. You could start killing people in a different way. It wasn't bad to fight in the American Revolution against the British. You're not doing it in the name of Torah. You're doing it in the idea that this is your home and you have to make it hospitable. So you don't need the Torah to tell you to do everything. I mean, some things are just common sense.
Fair enough. Good. Welcome to the room, Frank and Saul, and we got a full house here. Nice. Tim, I don't think I've seen you around here. You're new. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and Jewish, Noahide, in the process of converting.
Or pagan. Yeah.
Pagan, maybe. You have to just unmute the little button on the bottom of the screen, the little white button.
All right, I got you.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Tim. I think, that we're trying to get involved in it and learn more about it because we are going to convert, but we want to be get educated about it.
Remember to stay normal. Judaism is not as all-encompassing as many people think or make it out to be. It seems that at least the Torah lifestyle as it appears in the Torah is just, people who would go to work, raise families, and be Jewish specifically, but be human first. I don't want people to go crazy with this. And we do what's required and we consider what's optional. And I think that's the healthiest approach, because if you adopt one of these social media rabbis as your teacher, I mean, it's going to drive you to OCD behavior. Just do what's required and learn as much as you can. Clearly, the goal for everyone is to be a teacher as well. But be normal, have fun, and look normal as well, because that makes you more effective. It makes the message more effective.
Yeah.
When people try to be holier than thou, I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of unhealthy people there who are attracted to the extremes, to asceticism, but that's not who we want to attract to religion anyways. But unfortunately, that's the bulk of the people who come. The religion is like a cry to call in all the crazy people in every movement. So this is why those of us that are more level-headed should take positions of authority and try to make other people more level-headed and realize that, there's a family you have to take care of. Don't learn Torah all day and send your wife to work. This is a very common thing in Israel. In Jerusalem, every morning, the bus stops are full of women and Arabs because the men are learning. Now, this is only in Jerusalem. I mean, Israel is only 10% religious, but I mean, Jerusalem is probably like 90% religious.